Vanakkam and good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. K. Pushpam, postdoctorate assistant professor in sociology. Now, I am going to discussing about Ambedkar views on democracy. Ambedkar has various views about democracy, like democracy as a way of life. Democracy is not merely a form of government, but a way of life. It is based on the principles of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Social democracy is the foundation of political democracy. Next, the political democracy, universal adult franchise, one person, one vote, one value, rule of law, constitutional methods, parliamentary democracy. Then social democracy, end of caste system and all forms of inequality, recognition of equal dignity of all human beings, promotion of liberty, equality, and fraternity in society. Economic democracy. Political democracy cannot last without economic equality, reduction of economic inequality, state ownership of key industries and resources, labor rights and social security. Then constitutionalism, strong belief in the constitution, fundamental rights for all, independent judiciary, federal structure, safeguards for minorities and weaker sections. Then education and awareness, educate, agitate and organize. Education is the milk of a lioness, essential for self-respect, rights and participation in democracy. Then, critic of inequality, caste system is the biggest enemy of democracy. Political equality is meaningless without social and economic equality. Social injustice leads to instability and the failure of democracy. Last one is ideal democratic society based on justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity, ensures dignity of the individual, creates conditions for the all-round development of every person. So this is the various views on democracy. Next, like many other national leaders, Ambedkar had complete faith in democracy. Dictatorship may be able to produce results quickly. It may be effective in maintaining discipline, but cannot be one's choice as permanent form of government. Democracy is superior because it enhances liberty. People have control over the rulers. Among the different forms of democratic government, Ambedkar's choice fell on the parliamentary form. In this case, also he was in agreement with many other national leaders. Next, meaning of social and economic democracy. Ambedkar viewed democracy as an instrument of bringing about change peacefully. Democracy does not merely mean rule by the majority or government by the representatives of people. This is a formalistic and limited notion of democracy. We would understand the meaning of democracy in better fashion if we view it as a way of realizing drastic changes in the social and the economic spheres of society. Ambedkar's ideas of democracy is much more than just a scheme of government. He emphasizes the need for bringing about an all-round democracy. A scheme of government does not exist in vacuum, it operates within the society. Its usefulness depends upon its relationship with the other spheres of society. Next, elections, parties, and parliaments are After all formal institutions of democracy, they cannot be effective in an undemocratic atmosphere. Political democracy means the principle of one man, one vote, which indicates political equality. But if oppression and injustice exist, the spirit of political democracy would be missing. Democratic government, therefore, should be an extension of a government democratic society. In the Indian society, for instance, so long as caste barriers and caste-based inequalities exist, real democracy cannot operate. In this sense, democracy means a spirit of fraternity and equality and not merely a political arrangement. Success because success of democracy in India can be ensured only by establishing a truly democratic society. Next, along with the social foundation of democracy, Ambedkar takes into consideration of the economic aspects also. It is true that he was greatly influenced by liberal thought. Still, he appreciated the limitations of liberalism. Parliamentary democracy, in which he had great faith, was also critically examined by him. He argued that parliamentary democracy was based on liberalism. It ignored economic inequalities and never concentrated upon the problems of the downtrodden. Besides, the general tendency of Western type of parliamentary democracies has been to ignore the issues of social and economic equality. In other words, parliamentary democracy emphasized only liberty, whereas true democracy implies both liberty and equality. Next, this analysis becomes very important in the Indian context. Indian society was demanding freedom from the British. But Ambedkar was afraid that freedom of the nation world would not ensure real freedom for the people. Social and economic inequalities have dehumanized in the Indian society. Establishing democracy in such a society would be nothing short of a revolution. This would be a revolution in the social structure and attitudes of the people. In the place of hereditary inequality, the principles of brotherhood and equality must be established. Therefore, Ambedkar supported the idea of all-round democracy. Next, factors necessary for the successful operation of democracy. We have already seen that Ambedkar favored the parliamentary form of government. For the successful functioning of this form of government, it is necessary that certain other conditions must be fulfilled. To begin with, political parties are necessary for the effective working of parliamentary democracy. This will ensure existence of the opposition, which is very important. Next, parliamentary government is known as responsible government mainly because the executive is constantly watched and controlled by the opposition. Respect and official status for the opposition means absence of absolute power for the executive. The other condition is a neutral and a non-political civil service. A neutral civil service means that administrators would be permanent, not dependent on the fortunes of the political parties, and that they would not take sides with political parties. This will be possible only when appointments of civil servants are not civil servants are not made on the basis of political considerations. Success of democracy depends on many ethical and moral factors also. Next, a country may have a constitution, but it is only a set of rules. These rules become meaningful only when people in the country develop conventions and traditions consistent with the constitution. People and politicians must follow certain norms in public life. Similarly, there must also exist a sense of morality and consciousness in the society. Law and legal remedies can never replace a voluntary sense of responsibility. No amount of law can enforce morality. Norms of honest and responsible behavior must develop in the society. Democracy can be successful only when every citizen feels duty bound to fight injustice, even if that injustice does not put him into any difficulty personally. This will happen when equality and brotherhood exist in the society. Next, to make democracy successful in India, Ambedkar suggested a few other precautions also. Democracy means rule of the majority, but this should not result into tyranny of the majority. Majority must always respect the views of the minority. In India, there is a possibility that the minority community will always be a political minority also. Therefore, it is very essential that the minority must feel free, safe, and secure. Otherwise, it will be very easy to convert democracy into a permanent rule against the minority. Caste system would thus become the most difficult obstacle in the successful functioning of democracy. The caste which are supposed to be of low status will never get their proper share in power. Caste will create barriers in the development of healthy democratic traditions. This means that unless we achieve the task of establishing democracy in the social field, mere political democracy cannot survive. So this is all the views on democracy by the Ambedkar. Next, thank you. So these are the all views given by Ambedkar views. So in the related to our equality, justice, and constitutions. So all the perspective he gives the views the democracy. So wherever the justice will prevail, the democracy will be there. Thank you. We can see the next topic in the next class. Thank you.